In 1857, Dickinson County was established in Kansas Territory. Located within the newly formed county was the home of Timothy Hersey and his wife Eliza, who lived on the west bank of Mud Creek, north of the Smoky Hill River. The Herseys would soon be joined by C.H. Thompson, who built a structure known as the Hotel on the east bank of the creek. In 1860, in an effort to become the county seat, Thompson surveyed a town site on his side of the creek. He asked Tim Hersey to name the new town, and Tim conferred with his wife. Eliza decided on the biblical name of Abilene, which meant City of the Plains. The Herseys' home would become a stage stop for the Butterfield Overland Dispatch, where passengers could find a well-cooked meal. In 1864, the Frontier Store was built by W.S. Moon, and a drinking establishment, known as Old Man Jones's Saloon, soon joined the growing town. But everything would change for Abilene in 1867, when Joseph McCoy visited. With the coming of the railroad in 1867, McCoy chose Abilene to be the crucial link between the great herds of longhorns in Texas with the cattle markets in the east. Cowboys would herd the longhorns along the Chisholm Trail to Abilene, where they would be loaded on rail cars and shipped to places like Kansas City and Chicago. Abilene became the first true Kansas cow town. In 1869, a correspondent of the Leavenworth Times and Conservative, going by the pen name Traveler, traveled to several Kansas towns and described them to the readers of the newspaper. After going to Hays City in May, Traveler would stay in Abilene, visiting the different businesses and talking to as many people as possible. The letter that Traveler published gives us a glimpse of what Abilene was like in its early days. From the Leavenworth Times, Leavenworth, Kansas, June 25th, 1869.
From Abilene, Special Correspondence of the Times and Conservative. Abilene, June 18, 1869. Abilene, 159 miles west of Leavenworth, might be called a Texan town, so much of the Texan being apparent on the surface. In the busy season, thousands of Texan steers are the principal inhabitants, but at present the Texan drovers take a prominent position. Though this town has long been known as a border town, yet, till the cattle trade commenced, it was insignificant in importance. The McCoy brothers of Springfield, Illinois, gave it the first impetus. These well-known stock dealers and raisers were looking for an available point for the Texas stock trade, and finally decided on Abilene. Here they erected an office, livery stable, and hotel, and at once commenced the Texan cattle trade, which has since made the place famous. This was only last year, and yet 50,000 head were shipped from this point after June 10th. The capacity of the yards is 1,500 head, and 100 cars per day can be loaded. The present season has hardly opened. The business up to this time is 500 head of wintered stock shipped, 1,300 head driven to St. Paul, 1,000 head driven to Montana, and 350 head bought by Powers to drive to Fort Harker. There are still 750 head of wintered stock on hand, and over 20,000 head down on the Wichita. So far, the season opens well, though there has been a little delay, owing to the opposition of many farmers to the passage of the Texan droves. The settlers having the law on their side, it has been found expedient to execute an indemnifying bond in $20,000 to protect them against any damage from the Texan stock. Last year, the citizens of Abilene raised a fund by taxing the stock 5 cents per head, and paid off nearly all claims for damages. The drovers paid their pro rata without grumbling, and the settlers were satisfied with the settlement. Businessmen. Of course, the business being principally stock, we must put W.K. and J.P. McCoy at the head of the list. W.K. McCoy is nearly always in New York attending to the selling, and James P. McCoy attends to the finances and traveling. At present, the firm is represented by Colonel S.N. Hitt in the outside business and C.F. Gross in the office. Both are competent businessmen and obliging gentlemen, and the extensive business of the firm has their undivided attention. H. H. Hazlitt is a general trader, in addition to being postmaster, express agent, sheriff, and agent of the Great Western Land Company. His store is always crowded, and he does a good cash business. The post office receives and sends a large mail, and is also the distributing point for many places south and southwest. The average number of letters both ways is about 300 daily, and in the months of July and August, about 600 daily. The duties of his other offices are all performed to the satisfaction of the community. Seeley's large establishment also does an extensive trade. Mr. Seeley is from Springfield, Illinois, and has reaped the benefit of an early attention to the wants of the Texan cattle traders. C. H. Morrill keeps a large assortment of harness and saddlery. He makes a liberal use of printer's ink, and receives a large patronage in consequence. H. C. Brown keeps a large assortment of drugs, and at the same time officiates as Register of Deeds. Jacob Karatovsky keeps an assortment of dry goods and notions. J. H. Eigelhart and Company do a large business in miscellaneous goods. Mills. Tim Hersey has a large and complete grist mill close to town, which does all the business of this vicinity. A new grist mill is being erected by Mr. Hoffman, 6 or 7 miles east of town on the Smoky. It is run by a water power and will be completed at a cost of $12,000. Drover's Cottage. This hotel contains 50 rooms and was built by the McCoy brothers at a cost of $18,000. It is built substantially and has all the modern improvements, including a billiard room and saloon. J. W. Gore, the proprietor, is indefatigable in his efforts to please his guests and gives first-class accommodations. Prairie Dog Town. One of the peculiar institutions of Abilene is the Dog Town, nearly opposite the post office. One of the humanitarians of the cattle mart has fed them for a long time, and they have become civilized. They can be seen any sunny day, promenading and keeping up their running fire of barks and yelps. Their pickets are always out, and on the approach of any of their larger canine enemies, the picket sounds the alarm, and instantly all play is stopped, and with quick jumps, sharp barks, and electric jerks of the tail, every dog disappears till the danger is over. The old adage, "every dog has his day," is illustrated in this case. As none of the town pets have yet had the hydrophobia, the dog law is not enforced, and Dogtown will probably still continue to exist as the most orderly, best regulated, and most industrious community on the road. Personal. I met a number of pleasant gentlemen on my way, some of whom I have mentioned. Among others, Colonel J. J. Myers of Caldwell County, Texas. He has 10,000 head of stock near Wichita, 5,000 of which he has just sold and agreed to deliver at Salt Lake City. The colonel has been on the border over 30 years and gave me considerable valuable information. A. W. Wheeler of California, who has purchased Colonel Myers' stock and will soon leave for Utah, is a gentleman of education and has promised to write the Times and Conservative his impressions of the trip. To T. C. Henry, a farmer of Abilene, formerly of Alabama, and J. E. J. Lytell, late station agent, I am under many obligations. I also had the pleasure of meeting F. Mulshall of the Pacific Stockyards, St. Louis, and Hughes Rue, a stock dealer of Sedalia, Missouri. Miscellaneous. The town supports a Baptist church and public school. The church is a neat frame structure and highly creditable to the organization which built it. The agricultural prospects were never better. Wheat is estimated at from 30 to 40 bushels to the acre, and some of the farmers commence harvesting fall wheat tomorrow. Farmers are in good spirits and will have more money after the sale of this crop than ever before. Land is cheap and offers great inducements to a farming population. The following for sale notice is posted on the post office. 160 acres prairie, all fenced. 40 acres brook, good house, and plenty of water. 10 acres timber, 2 miles from Solomon City, 9 miles from Abilene. Terms, $10 per acre, $9 without timber. Such chances cannot be found in more eastern states. And yet, poor men can buy farms at a very low figure in this part of the state every day. This will close my description of Abilene, which in 1 year has become a town of 100 houses, and the great cattle depot. Whether Ellsworth will take the trade remains to be seen. I know that both places will work hard for the supremacy. Traveler.
Here are some notes concerning the article. The McCoy brothers. Traveler mentioned W.K. McCoy and James P. McCoy, but there were 3 McCoy brothers who were influential in the cattle industry. William K. McCoy was the eldest, followed by James P. McCoy and Joseph G. McCoy. In Springfield, Illinois, William and James had created a livestock firm, and afterwards were joined by Joseph. Although William and James were important in bringing the Texas Longhorns to eastern markets, it was Joseph who traveled to Kansas, chose Abilene as the railhead, and provided the infrastructure necessary in transforming Abilene into a cow town. In 1874, Joseph McCoy published the book Historic Sketches of the Cattle Trade of the West and Southwest. The Drover's Cottage. This is a photo of the Drover's Cottage in Abilene in 1867. The photo was taken by Alexander Gardner. It was a hotel built by Joseph McCoy in 1867 for the purpose of attracting rich cattlemen to come to Abilene. After 1870, additions were made to the hotel so that it contained 100 sleeping rooms, a restaurant, a stage, and areas to play pool and to gamble. In 1872, 2/3 of the Drover's Cottage was moved to Ellsworth. This photo shows how the hotel looked in Ellsworth after even more additions were made to the building. Prairie Dog Town. Thanks to photographer Alexander Gardner, we have a few photos of the Prairie Dog Town as described by the correspondent Traveler. All 3 photos were taken in 1867. We have this close-up of one of the prairie dogs, a photo of a prairie dog peeping out of its hole, and a photo of 2 men standing near 2 prairie dogs. This last photo is titled The Mayor of Prairie Dog Town.